You are with the big story here, a special focus on the health emergency crisis because of toxic air. It is a difficult season for those living in North India. We're breathing in toxic air, something that's beyond our control. It is the second week of severe pollution levels in the entire northern belt of the country. The national capital has seen a rise in respiratory illness this season. Schools have been further shut till the 5th of November. People are being asked to remain shut indoors. To curb the rising pollution, the Delhi government has today rolled out the odd-even scheme on the roads, where on even dates, vehicles with even-numbered license plates can ply, and on odd dates, vehicles with odd-numbered license plates will ply. This is a scheme that Delhiites are familiar with. This has been played out in the past as well. Today, we're asking, is it an effective way to fight pollution? We'll also get you a ground check on the practice of stubble burning this time of the year, which hasn't been reined in by neighbouring state governments of Delhi. Plus, we will take into account whether or not earlier Supreme Court interventions in the past have worked. Today is another crucial hearing in the Apex Court regarding the EPCA report. And most importantly, has the central government been in denial with lack of forward planning? All of that we'll get you in this special show today. First, let's focus on how it's playing out on the roads of Delhi. This is the first day of the odd-even scheme today. It has been 6 hours since morning. Strict implementation by the traffic cops on ground. Earlier today, few motorists were fined as well for violating the scheme. But someone who is fronting the violation on record is the BJP leader Vijay Goyal. He's unapologetic about it. He's calling the scheme a mere political stunt by AAP. He even confronted the Delhi Transport Minister Kailash Gehlot. But there is less traffic congestion on the roads. This indicates that Delhiites are sincere about following the scheme. Let's get in a ground check. Let's go across to our team of correspondents here on this. First, we're going to play out the morning remark that came in from the Delhi Chief Minister.
व्हीकल्स के पोल्यूशन को कम करने के लिए दिल्ली में जैसे डेली 30 लाख कारें सड़क पे उतरती हैं, तो आज 15 लाख कारें सड़क पे नहीं उतरेंगी, तो 15 लाख कारों का जो धुआं होता था वो कम हो जाएगा। इसके लिए आज से ऑड इवन शुरू किया है और मुझे बेहद खुशी है। सुबह 8 बजे आज शुरू हुआ था, तो पूरे दिल्ली से जो रिपोर्ट आ रही हैं लगभग 100% इसका पालन हो रहा है। दिल्ली के लोगों ने जम के इसका समर्थन किया है, वॉलंटरीली इसका समर्थन कर रहे हैं। पूरे दिल्ली से मेरे ख्याल से इक्का दुक्का कोई चालान की घटनाएं सुनने को मिली हैं। मैं दिल्ली के लोगों को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं।
Let's get in that quick check. Our correspondent Alok with us, as well as Apoorva. First to you, Alok. This is with respect to tracking the odd even. To what extent it's being followed on ground? Are Delhiites serious about this? Do they believe that this scheme in a span of 2 weeks is going to bring down pollution?
Well, yes, sir. In fact, whether it will help in reduction of pollution or not, the time will tell. But as of now, I am standing at the ITO chalk. This ITO chalk is very prominent chalk. This is a connecting portion of central and north Delhi. In fact, I would like to show you the visuals. There are a lot of arrangements made, in fact, done by the Delhi government. That there you can see there is a screen of that LED screen. There are messages which are keep coming about the pollution. There are message of the Delhi Chief Minister which says that 25% pollution has come, and the appeal of Delhi Chief Minister to reduce the pollution as well. I will show you that when it will come. The other thing I would like to show you is that there are that volunteers who are standing with the play cards. I would like to show you that play card, what the message is written here. Odd even का पालन करें, प्रदूषण दूर करें. This is the volunteer. In fact, on every road there you can see there are volunteers standing with the same play card, so that they could send the message to the people who are commuters basically to follow the traffic rules, as well as what the thing is that odd even scheme what the Delhi government has implemented today in Delhi. If we talk about this particular chalk, that 4 challans have been issued since morning. However, on the roads, there are compliance which we saw which we noticed in the morning. In fact, at around the peak hours from between 7 to 9, we were here and we were seeing the traffic problems because earlier, if we talk about yesterday, there were 20 minutes halt of the vehicles right here at this chowk, but today it was around 10 minutes halt only. So that means that there were number of vehicles were reduced, and that is why the traffic problem was also some extent reduced today. But whether it will convert in the reduction of pollution in Delhi or not,
that's an important calculation on your front. That's right. This is an ease of traffic, which is the first indicator that OddEven is being followed. Apoorva, who's for now taken off her mask, she's inside one of the buses. We're going to be keeping a track on as far as public transport here goes, Apoorva. This is on two fronts. The promise of providing more buses, adding more buses to the fleet on the rollout of this scheme, and also on Ola, Uber, or whether or not they're going to be controlling surge pricing today.
That's right, Seher. This is a two-way process, because when you talk about the OddEven scheme, the first thing that comes to a citizen's mind is whether the national capital has a robust public transport in place. And secondly, if the OddEven is in place, will cab aggregators like Ola and Uber indulge in surge pricing? Now, cab aggregators like Ola and Uber have promised, given their word, that they are not going to indulge in surge pricing. But when we talk about the public transport, it is, of course, a big concern even for the commuters who still feel that the number of public transport, especially the buses that are plying on the road, is less, and that has to increase in order for a robust public transport. Let me speak to some of the commuters here who are traveling on this bus ride. आंटी जी, ये बताइए कि आपको लगता है कि buses जो हैं अभी कम है और public transport जो buses हैं वो और आनी चाहिए?
हाँ, आनी चाहिए.
अभी आपको लग रहा है कम है?
हाँ जी.
इसी वजह से क्या भीड़ ज्यादा हो रही है? अभी ऑड एंड इवन भी आ गया है, तो काफी लोग हैं जो पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट के, और बताए भी जा रहे हैं कि लोगों को कि पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट लीजिए, तो लग रहा है कि इस कारण ज्यादा भीड़ भी और बढ़ेगी?
हाँ जी, बढ़ेगी.
अंकल, ये बताइए, आपको लगता है कि ऑड एंड इवन आने के बाद प्रदूषण जो है उसके हिसाब से हमने ऑड एंड इवन देख रहे हैं, बट क्या लगता है पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट जो बसेस है वो अभी भी बहुत कम है?
इस समय तो कम चल रही हैं, बहुत कम चल रही हैं, और ट्रांसपोर्ट भी कम है. हाँ, बहुत कम है. मैं तो ग्रेटर नोएडा से आता हूँ, आया हूँ क्योंकि बैंक में काम के लिए आया था मैं, तो मुझे तो कम लग रहा है पहले से.
लेकिन अभी हम ये भी देख रहे हैं कि पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट डीटीसी के अलावा एक पर्यावरण सेवा बसेस भी हैं जो प्राइवेट बसेस चल रही हैं, ताकि ये जो 12 दिन के लिए ऑड एंड इवन के लिए लोगों को सहूलियत मिले.
हाँ, मैंने देखा है अभी कि ये फर्स्ट टाइम देखा मैंने आज कि ये वाइट रंग की बस चल रही है, और पर्यावरण के लिए तो ठीक ही है.
So Seher, there are 2 points, 2 things right now that needs to be looked at this point. Of course, the buses are less, but in addition to that, we're also looking at something called a Paryavaran Seva bus. Now, these are buses, private buses, CNG private buses, which are also plying on the road. The Delhi government had promised to get in 2,000 such buses for this period of November 14th to 15th. But right now, we're given to understand only 800 or 837 odd buses are currently plying on the roads to aid and boost public transport for the people
there
in
is
Delhi.
a massive shortfall of buses on ground. Today is the first day. We should have had all 2,000 as part of the fleet, but there are only 800. The Delhi government, of course, assures this will only increase in the coming few days. But with the rollout today, the fleet should have been ready as well. We're getting in very important breaking inputs. This is as per the Supreme Court hearing, which was slated to take place today, and this is what has happened. Breaking inputs here coming in with the Apex Court slamming the government, outright saying that this is a failure to act on pollution. The court has observed that no room in Delhi is safe. It questions, how can we survive like this? We have with us our Deputy News Editor Meenakshi Bhanja getting us those inputs here. Meenakshi, go ahead with those details.
Well, absolutely, Seher, and you know there is often criticism that judiciary steps into the realm of the legislature, but the sad part, as we have witnessed over the past few days here in the national capital, is till and unless the Supreme Court cracks whip, the agencies don't get functional. And today, this is something which has emerged very, very poignantly here in the Supreme Court, as the top court is lamenting the fact as to how Delhi is choking, and every year this is happening. Why can't it be dealt with in a civilized manner. The Supreme Court is also of the opinion as to how the state machinery, remember, we are not here to affix any blame, but the Supreme Court collectively is talking about all governments, from the Delhi government to the union government to Punjab to Haryana. The court is completely lamenting the lack of any action on the part of the state machinery in not acting on time. The Supreme Court saying that these various administrative setups are merely passing the buck onto each other. Furthermore, the Supreme Court is saying that people cannot survive in the city if pollution cannot be curbed. And Honorable Justice Arun Mishra also going on so far as to question this aspect of stubble burning, on which the blame has been affixed on Punjab and Haryana in particular. He wants to understand if the stubble burning aspect of pollution is something which falls within the realm of tortious liability, and if indeed it is a tort, then the state and the Gram Panchayats need to be held accountable. Furthermore, the Supreme Court, in very sharp observations made to the governments of Punjab and Haryana, is also going on to add as to how every year stubble burning is happening. If you people are responsible, then this would not have happened. Today, the situation is grim. The Supreme Court further directing both the states of Punjab and Haryana to douse these stubble fires immediately, saying that any inability on the part of the state administration to not douse this fire will invoke the Supreme Court's wrath, saying that it will haul up the entire administration if these fires are not doused immediately. So these are the state of events here in the hearing. Furthermore, the Supreme Court has also sought the presence of some expert, from IIT Delhi or the Ministry of Environment in the next 30 minutes to suggest or to make some immediate remedies made available for consideration to the Supreme Court in order to deal with this pollution menace. Very interestingly and very quickly, the amicus curiae who's been appointed by the Supreme Court in this entire pollution issue, Prajita Singh, has also raised question marks here on this affidavit which was submitted on the 22nd of October by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Control, where the ministry is saying that the stubble burning in fact has come down in the period 2016 to 2018. So that has also been questioned by the amicus. So that's the state of affairs here in the top court, where the Supreme Court is completely slamming various governments for their lack of action to curb pollution in time.
All right, Meenakshi, appreciate you getting the entire lowdown very, very clearly, with the Supreme Court establishing not one authority, not one government responsible. There can be no political blame game here. The Supreme Court establishes it very clearly in this hearing today. Several state governments and the central government all together responsible. Let's also get in a quick check as far as pollution levels today in the northern belt of the country, particularly in Delhi, are concerned. Yesterday, it had broken records of the highest that we'd seen in the past 3 years in the hazardous level. How is it looking today? We have with us my colleague Viren Farao with those figures.
Right, thanks, Sir. So we're here in the newsroom, and we've got a breakdown of the various areas across the national capital and what what the air quality is. We're also going to tell you what the situation currently is in the national capital region. Now, the spike in air pollution, I'd point out for our viewers, usually happens in the early parts of the morning and the evening as well. But as you can see, this is just an example. Anand Vihar in Delhi is recording severe levels of pollution. This is as per the CPCB, a central government agency. And just to illustrate for 1 second what these mean, what these numbers actually mean and the impact it has on you. Now, if you're in the good or satisfactory category, which is up to 100 AQI, that means the impact is minimal. You'll have minor breathing discomfort if it reaches close to 100. But once it goes beyond that, that's when you see it creating absolute havoc. Between 101 and 200, it's in the moderate range, and you're already beginning to feel breathing discomfort to the people who already have lung disease, who have asthma and heart disease. Then you move on to the poor category, 201 to 300. You're now beginning to feel breathing discomfort to most people with prolonged exposure. So you don't actually have to have a precondition to feel that. Then you go on to 301 to 400, which is very poor. Now you begin to feel respiratory illness. It causes that on a prolonged exposure. So you don't even have to have, as I said, a precondition, but you could develop a condition because of that. And finally, you've got the severe level, 401 and above. And that puts you in territory that is really, really dangerous. It can affect healthy people and seriously impacts those with existing diseases. And therefore, that's why they say Delhi's air is hazardous and people need to be very careful. And, Anand Vihar is just one example. Let me show you a few other places. This is the Karni Singh shooting range, venue of the Commonwealth Games in 2010. Again, severe. I'm going to quickly run you through some other places now. It's ITO, where my colleague Alok has been. This is 428, severe again. Let's take you to some other parts of the country. Let's take you to Noida, which is in the NCR region, very quickly. Noida city is right here. And let's pull one of these sectors up. Severe. This is a problem that extends through most of our country. Let's talk about Varanasi. Again, I'm just going to quickly pull that up for our viewers. One monitoring station in Varanasi, very poor. So this is not a problem just related to the national capital region. This extends to a lot of our country, through Uttar Pradesh to Punjab to Haryana. The impact is felt everywhere. So our governments need to wake up, because just tackling what's happening in NCR isn't going to cut it. People in these areas also deserve the help of the government and some concrete plans from them.
Absolutely. Well pointed out there, Viren. This is not just Delhi NCR centric, and this is why we're saying this is across the northern belt. Other state governments that need to comply and take those measures to fight pollution as well. Our correspondent Alok, who's also been getting us further inputs. Alok, this is not just with respect to a smooth rollout of the OddEven scheme, but also what possible impact can it have today? We have yesterday already suffered a record-breaking pollution level. What is going to change today with this?
Well, Seher, it is not going to change in just one day. However, what the Delhi government says that earlier they are, in fact, they are very much hopeful that it will be a huge success and there will be the reduction of pollution in some way. But if we talk about the earlier implementation of this odd-even schemes, in those two times, the two previous times when these odd-even schemes were implemented, according to the environmentalists, however, the people who deal with these things, they say that it was not much success. In fact, they said that they do not have any particular data of telling this, but they say that it does not give any longer effect, but it is just for a short span of time. However, Delhi government claims that it was a good response in the last two times, and this time also they are hopeful it will bring some relief to the people. But when it is going to be ended, like that is on the 15th of November, then only it will clearly be told that whether it was a success or not. So that is what the Delhi government says, and that is what the Delhi government is hopeful about. But if we talk particularly about the people, that the people are basically who are the sufferers most, and in fact about the odd-even scheme, there are people found to be complying the odd-even schemes, and they are saying that they will follow the rules, and it seems that they are doing this.
Right, and let's also take into account here, because now we want to look at long-term measures on why this is being caused. You can no longer just work on last-minute quick-fix measures here. This is with respect to the smog, which was not a factor 10 years ago. What has suddenly changed today? Why these rising figures in air pollution in the past 10 years? This is an observation of a decade. What's causing this change? Is it a change in agriculture practices? Why farmers cannot do away with this practice of stubble burning? This needs a long-term solution and a long-term understanding of this menace as well. We have with us our managing editor Vinay Tiwari along with our senior editor Viren Farao to further explain this.
Right, thanks, Ed. So through this conversation, we're going to try and endeavor to explain to the viewers the causes of the pollution, what we've seen over the last 10 years, and why there's been such a dramatic departure from times in the past. And we're going to run you through some graphics, and hopefully the people who are watching have a better understanding of the causes of pollution and not just these, this blame game that we see. We need to step out of the blame game and talk about the facts here. Now, let's begin with the genesis of this problem.
Pretty simply, I mean, so as you said, where did it all begin? It might all look unconnected. It may all look as if it's not, there is no linkage, but there is. Punjab and Haryana in India produce way more rice than what actually they should be producing. I mean, in fact, the last 15 years or so, the paddy output in both the states has tripled in many ways. And that's the first reason why we are saying it's linked to the current pollution problem. The second big important thing which needs to be remembered, paddy needs over 5 times more water than other crops. So if you, for instance, sow wheat or maize or corn, it won't need as much water as paddy does. Now, what that means and what it does is that the farmers have to draw immense amount of water, and power is free in Punjab. In Haryana, power is heavily subsidized. Water is, of course, a free commodity for farmers. So the free power supply means that the farmers across both the states are using heavy-duty gensets and mechanized tube wells to draw water from the ground levels and use it to irrigate their farmlands. And that has led to a further increase in the amount of paddy that has been cultivated. It's good for the crops, but it led to something else. And that genesis led to what we are calling the change. So what really changed because of all of this? The change was this. The paddy cultivation shot up extensively, and then it started impacting the groundwater levels in these two states. Now that systematic reduction in the groundwater table over the years started alarming the governments, and in the year 2009, Punjab and Haryana nearly identically passed laws which changed the cropping cycle of paddy. Now remember, this is literally creating a situation where a law is forcing nature to change its course. Usually farmers sow paddy in April and May. The law said that because April and May are summer months and the water table cannot be allowed to drop further, they said you cannot sow before June. So the farmers in Punjab and Haryana are now sowing paddy in the months of June, which means that is now being cut in September and October. Now, how does it impact pollution? Because the next cropping cycle, where wheat is sown in large parts of Punjab and Haryana, has to be sown before the winter sets in and before November, mid-November or so. So now the farmers have a much smaller window to actually prepare the field for the next cropping.
So essentially, it's the turnaround.
It's a turnaround time.
Between rice and wheat.
Absolutely. So earlier the turnaround used to be about a month, month and a half.
Yeah.
And now they have less than a week or 10 days window to turn around and prepare the fields for the next cropping pattern. And hence, in their hurry to clear up the farmlands, they're just setting the paddy on fire. And that's why this has become a serious problem only in the last 5 to 6 years and not before that.
Okay, and we need to talk about the law as well, because as you said, you alluded to it, Haryana and Punjab have brought about laws to actually, which have also played a role. And you will tell us it's actually a substantial role in the crisis we see currently.
In fact, almost entirely. I mean, that law was officially called the Impact of Preservation of Subsoil Water Act. That's the legal terminology for that law. But essentially, the sum and substance of the law was that to prevent the water table from dropping further, the cropping pattern has to be shifted from the April, May summer months to June, when the first pre-monsoon showers start arriving in the two states.
And that has led to the impact that we see, Vinay, because it's the crop burning, the change in the cropping pattern as well leads to the impact that we see on the national capital. What is that impact?
So obviously, when there is a large, I remember both Haryana and Punjab are predominantly agriculture states. So a large part of those states are involved in agriculture. There are very large land holdings and fields which are being used. When extensive amount of crop burning is happening, or stubble burning is happening, naturally the winds or the breeze brings it towards Delhi and surrounding areas. Remember, in Delhi it gets impacted more in October, November, because purely by the natural phenomena of that part of the state, the speed of the wind is lower than what it is in other parts. I mean, the wind speed picks up towards end November. The wind speed is pretty fine during monsoons, but during October and November, the wind speeds in north are lower, and hence it starts hanging a little bit more than it would otherwise hang. And that's why if you finish the cropping, say in September or August, you would probably not have this problem.
And that, is another example why our governments cannot afford to operate in these silos where they're not talking to each other, where they don't assess the environmental impact of changes that they make. The moves may have been well-intentioned. However, the impact is real, and Delhi and NCR, in fact, much of North India is choking because of this air.
Many thanks for explaining that to us. This would, of course, require changing agricultural practices which have just set in the past decade, because that is the long-term solution. We're going to be focusing more in on that. Stubble burning a major factor, random politicization not desirable. Stay on with us.